It's a lovely morning here in Malvik, in the edible garden, and today I'm just going to, if I was put on the spot and asked what my absolute favourite perennial vegetable was, I would probably 9 times out of 10 answer Hablitzia, the Caucasian spinach, or Stjernemelde in Norwegian. This is my oldest plant, which was planted here up against a south-facing wall in about 2001-2002. Although it's south-facing, if we turn around here we can see that to the south are these rather tall trees. This lovely old gnarled birch tree and various lime trees shading in the summer when the leaves come out. This particular plant, today I wanted to tell you about how I first came across a fantastic edible plant which was totally missing from the main kind of encyclopedias of edible plants of the world, and had been kept it was a closely kept secret here in Scandinavia from its introduction from the Caucasus in the 1870s as an ornamental plant. It's still frozen in the soil here, and this now 23-year-old Hablitzia is still in fine form with hundreds of shoots appearing, and we've already been eating a few of them, mainly for salads, or mixed into salads at this time of year for lunch. And later on, in fact, you can just about see that the Hablitzia is growing in a sea of this onion, Allium paradoxum, or the few flowered onion, which is further south in Europe. It can be a bit invasive. This particular plant came from an old lady in Sweden as something completely different, and it's been in this small part of the garden ever since. So you can see these young shoots coming up, and they're totally edible as well, of course. Now, my oldest plant came from a Swedish lady called Lena Israelsson in, as I mentioned, around about 2001-2002, and it came about that I was alerted to the existence of this plant through Lena Israelsson's book entitled The Kitchen Garden, Our Green Heritage, translated from Sweden, a book that she published in 1996, and she actually sent me a copy of this book as thanks for various onions or alliums that I'd sent her as she was researching a book where she wanted to trial different alliums from around the world that I had on my seed list that year. And I've got a copy of her book here. As I say, literally The Kitchen Garden, Our Green Heritage. Within the book, I remember opening it up in the early, around about 2000, early 2000s, and came across this plant, which in Swedish is called spinach, or climbing spinach, literally. And there was a whole page with a picture about this plant that I'd never heard of before. And I'd just like to, I've translated this, the text that she wrote here for the first time, and I'm just going to read it out for you. The entry about Hablitzia was in a chapter that she wrote, which translates as the forgotten kitchen garden plants. And she writes, "How could we have forgotten such a luxuriant climber? Rank spinach, or climbing spinach, comes all the way from the Caucasus, but thrives in a Swedish villa garden. It overwinters without problems in most of Sweden and shoots healthy greenery early in the spring. The inconspicuous flowers are yellow-green and are borne in clusters. Before the summer is over, it will be 2 to 4 meters high and can cover an entire wall, even in partial shade. It came to Sweden as an ornamental plant around 1870. Already after a couple of years it was discovered that the leaves could be eaten, but Hablitzia did not spread widely, even though garden enthusiasts of the time valued it highly. They used the leaves like spinach in soups and stews. The leaves can be harvested all summer, but are at their peak in the spring. During the height of summer and autumn, Hablitzia is more useful as an ornamental plant. The plant is unassuming, but thrives in fertile soil. The soil should also be deep, as the plant's fleshy roots penetrate far down. According to old gardening books, sowing should take place in autumn with fresh seeds, as these quickly lose their germination. But where do you buy fresh seeds in September? Incidentally, in Sweden there are no seeds to buy at all. Here instead you can get seeds by way of a garden association. I found seeds myself in England and sowed them in February. I placed the pots outside for a few weeks so that the seeds could be cold treated. The result was not much to brag about, but the seed packet produced a couple of plants, and that's enough for a household. The plant can remain in the same place for several years, and of course they must have a suitable support to wind their way up. In the past they were allowed to climb branches, lattice work, or a pergola. What is it that makes me say this is my favourite of all the perennial vegetables? Well, first of all, it grows fantastically well up here. It's very cold tolerant. These young shoots appear in the autumn. They're tasty, much more tasty than the rather bitter tasting Good King Henry, and can be used in salads. And as you see, the shoots are already extended, and so there's plenty of food here already in March, with the soil still frozen solid. It's long-lived, as I've mentioned. This particular plant has never received any fertilizer at all. It just accidentally gets some extra water in the summer when I'm watering pots in this area of the garden, and it turns out to be highly nutritious as well.